Hi there, I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
And I'm Sam, and I'm a non-gamer.
And we are Love to Hate, where we help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
Today we're taking a look at Positano by Slugfest Games.
Positano is a game in which you are going to be building the little town in Italy of Positano, which is off the cliff sides overlooking the, I believe, the Mediterranean Sea, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that, and I'm sure somebody's going to correct me if I am wrong. But nonetheless, you are overlooking the waters, and you are trying to build your buildings to have oceanside view so that you can see the water. Because nobody wants a building that's blocked by somebody else's building. And so with this one, you are going to be using your cards that have different numbers on them to bid for the tiles that will tell you where you can build and how many of your building blocks you get to use for that particular round. Let's go down to the table. I'll show you how this one works, and then we'll come back and share our thoughts on it as a gamer and non-gamer. All right, here's Positano on the table. Now, what you have for components with this game, you are going to have the cliffside, and this is made out of chipboard pieces, and you just slot these in together to form the four-tiered playing surface that you'll be playing on. You do have lots of colored blocks. Each player is going to have their own set of building blocks, and these building blocks are going to be plastic mold injected pieces that are going to be decorated on the outside to made to look like Italian buildings, which is really pretty nice. And as you can see, they stack upon one another. You do have a board that is going to hold the tiles in the game. You do have 3 different types of tiles in the game. And then you have these shiny roofs that you are going to be putting on top of your buildings. They come in 3 different colors. This is going to be bronze. You have silver and you have gold, and these are plastic. They are not metallic. They are plastic painted with this shiny metallic painting on it, though, which is actually pretty nice. And in addition to everything that you've seen so far, you do also have cards, and players are going to have their own hand of cards that are going to be that come in 2 different varieties of cards. These essentially are going to be your bidding cards, and these are going to add to your bid. I'll explain how that works here in just a minute. Now, when you play this game in lower player counts, you are going to remove certain tiles from the stacks here, and you're only going to be using this half of the board. And as you can see, in 3 players, you would use 3, and in 4 players, you would use all 4 columns on this board. And you would be using all of the spaces out here. In a smaller player count game, there are going to be some that you will not be building upon, as you will remove 4 tiles at random from the realty stack here, and everybody will see what those are. And this is in a 2-player game, you would remove 4. In a 3-player game, you would only remove 3. But that's the idea that with the tiles. Now, you're going to load the board up with tiles every round, and players are going to see what's available, and then they will make a bid using their cards in their hand, and then you would reveal the bid and award these tiles. So let's talk about what are the different tiles. As I've already said, the yellow ones are going to be the real estate tiles that are going to show you where you're able to build for that specific round. So in this particular tile, it is for 3B, which is going to be this spot right here. And as you can see, this one says 1C on it. And so that's what you're getting whenever you bid for this row. Now, the middle row is going to be your blocks, your building blocks. And so this one's going to tell you how many building blocks of your color do you get this round. Players do start the game with 1 block, but you will need more blocks throughout the course of the game, and this is going to tell you how many blocks you get this round. Now, that does not mean that you have to use all of those blocks to build your building that round, but that's telling you how many you'll get. So this one here says that you're getting 3, while this one says you're getting 2, and if you notice, there is a little gelato icon on the bottom left corner. Those are essentially victory points at the end of the game. You'll see how many gelatos that you have on all the tiles as well as all the cards, because some of your cards also have the gelato icon on them. Some of the lower cards do. And so you'll keep track of how many gelatos you've gotten from your cards as well as your tiles and count those as victory points. Now the bottom one is going to tell you what color roof you are going to put on your building that turn. So this one shows you that you are getting a silver roof, whereas this one here is showing you that you're getting a bronze roof. The number of stars tells you how many points each level of your building is going to score you if it can see the ocean at the end of the game. I'll explain that here in just a second. Now, that's what the tiles mean, but let's talk about how you will get those tiles. So once everybody sees what cards are available, you are going to bid using your two different types of cards. And I do want to point out that everybody's hands are exactly the same as far as the numbers go, but these little pip values next to the numbers, those are going to be the tiebreaker. And so in other words, if I end up playing this same exact card and the same exact modifier as somebody else, then we'll see who's got the most pips for each of these levels right here. And the pips are always going to be different, so that's going to produce a tiebreaker, and that will show who gets to pick first. Because what you're doing here is you're going to be picking one of these cards, and as you can see, there are three different values tied to the three different types of tiles, and essentially you're making a three-way bid every round. And so if I play this card right here, I am betting 70 on the real estate row. I am only betting 20 on the building block row, and then I'm betting 30 on the roof row. And so I play one of these cards, but I also play one of these cards. So let's say that I play this 14 right here. So essentially I'm adding 14 to every one of these numbers. So now my top bid is going to be 84, this one's going to be 34, and this one's going to be 44. And I would keep those face down until everybody is locked in. And let's say that somebody else bids as well. And then we would reveal and we would see, oh man, they played the same exact card as me, but their modifier is higher than mine. So they're going to basically win everything that round. They're going to get first dibs on each one of these rows. And you can pick whatever you want in that row. So the pink player, maybe they want to take 1C because there's no way 1C can get blocked by anybody else, so they would take 1C, and I would end up taking 3B, and this would continue. They would obviously want 3 blocks, but hey, I get 2 blocks and a gelato, so that's nice. And then maybe they want 2 gelatos, so they would take this one, and I would get left with this one. And so, looking at my tiles, I now see that I'm going to earn 2 blocks from my supply over here, so we'll go ahead and take that. And then I would also earn a silver roof. And so we would go ahead and take one of those. Now, we would build in turn order, starting with the player who won that particular tiebreaker for the building space and building blocks and the roofs. And so pink player would go first in this case. And they would, again, looking at 1C, that's where they have to build this round. Now, there is a rule for how tall you can make each of your buildings on each of the levels. And essentially what that rule is that you cannot build beyond what level you're on. So in this first row, you can only build 1 level. And in the second row, you can only build 2. And third, you can only build 3, 4, 4. However, there is a way to break that rule because there are some tiles within this stack right here that are going to have bonuses attached to them that say +1 or +2. And essentially what that means is that you can exceed that rule that I just talked about by 1 or 2 levels. And so that's how you can build beyond what your restriction is for that level. But that's only if you have one of these types of tiles. Now, I'm pointing out to you that there are some tiles that give you 2 options. Not only are you going to get to build with a bronze roof with this tile, but this action down here allows you to add to one of your previously built buildings out here on the cliffs. And you get to do both of those. Now, this tile right here is going to let you build with a gold roof that round, but then you will also get to upgrade one of the silver roofs roofs to a gold roof as well. You get to do both of these. And that's how these special blue tiles work. Now, there are some special block tiles as well. They look like this. They give you two different options, and essentially you can either double however many blocks you currently have or just gain 2, or you can triple how many blocks you currently have or gain 3. So that's what these tiles let you do. But let's go back to what we're doing here. And the other player, they got 3 blocks, which means they would have a total of 4 blocks, including the one they start the game with. And but they have to build on 3B. And so the most they can go is 3 because they didn't get one of those tiles that has the benefit to exceed that. So they have to build 3, adding it right here. And they got a bronze roof, so they're going to add their bronze roof to the top of their building. And I know you can't really see that because it's off the frame, but you'll get to see mine right here real quick because I'm building a 1-story building with a silver roof. And there we go. Now, what we're going to do right here, I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to fast forward showing you what this might look like at the end of the game, and then I'll explain how everything scores. All right, so here it is at the end of the game. There are no more tiles on this board, so we'll go ahead and move that out of the way, and we'll move the city closer to the camera so you can see. And as you can see, in a 2-player game, there's going to be some open spots, as well as in a 3-player game. In a 4-player game, all the spots would be filled. And what you're doing at this point is you're looking to see how many buildings have view of the ocean being this side of the action here of what's happening. So this front row, every level is always going to have view of the ocean, and you'll get a number of points for each level of your buildings that can see the ocean, depending upon the color of roofs. So this building right here, it's got 2 levels, each of which can obviously see the ocean because it's right here in the front. And because it has a bronze roof, each one of those levels is worth 1 point, whereas this one with a silver roof, each one of its levels would be worth 2 points, and this golden roof building, each of its levels is going to be worth 3 points. Now, you can see that in the second row here, that some of the buildings, well, really all the buildings, the first level is going to be blocked because each of these buildings up front were extended to 2 stories, and so that's blocking the lowest level of these buildings. So those buildings bottom level isn't going to score any points, but these second and third levels are going to score points. And as you can see, some of the buildings in the back are completely blocked, such as this building right here, whereas this building right here was lucky it didn't have anything built in front of it. So all of these stories are going to be able to be seen, and you can kind of get the gist of what's happening with the rest of the levels. Now, in addition to all the points that you would be scoring on your buildings out here, you would go through all of the tiles that you've collected throughout the course of the game that have gelato on them, giving yourself points for the gelato. And you'll do the same with the cards that you've played throughout the course of the game, giving yourself points for the gelatos on the cards. And there's one more thing that I haven't covered yet, and that is that there is a small deck of cards that are going to be communal goals that everybody is working towards. You'll select 3 of these each time, and these are front and back with different goals on the back side, and you'll give yourself points for how well you did on these goals, such as this one, Perfetto. Earn for each building at exactly regulation height 2 points. So if your building was exactly the height that it is supposed to be, so 1 story for the first floor buildings, 2 stories for the second, 3 for 3, 4 for 4, you get the idea, you would get points here. Now, as you can see, none of the buildings matched that, so they would get no points, but maybe we get points for Altezza. Earn for each different height among your buildings 2 points. So for each different height, I've got a 2-story, a 1-story, a 4-story, a 3-story. I've got all. So that would be 2, 4, 6, 8 points here. But let's see how the pink did. 1-story, 2-story, 3-story, 4-story. So the pink player got that as well. And you can get the idea with some of the rest of these, maybe trying to get only on the edges or in a certain single column. If you can get a set of roofs. So you get the idea with these, but you're going to get points based off of how well you did on these as well. You do have a nice little score pad to help you keep track of the points, and whoever has the most points is going to be the winner, and that is how you play Positano. And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Positano from a gamer and non-gamer's perspective. So, Sam, the first thing that I want to say about this particular game, got to see it at Gen Con last year, 2024, and its prototype stage before it hit their crowdfunder, their Kickstarter, and was immediately drawn to it because of its table presence. I thought it was a beautiful looking game. The artwork is done by Beth Trott, and I thought it was fantastic looking. Loved the 3D element to it. Loved the way the little shiny roofs look like on these colorful buildings. And it just had a really cool vibe out on the table. So I was very intrigued by it. Talked to the designer, talked to Slugfest Games, and hence we got a copy sent to us. So we do want to thank Slugfest Games for that. But what did you think about the table presence with this one?
Yeah, it's definitely really pretty, and it's fairly small too.
Yeah.
Like you don't need a whole lot of area, which you would think with how big this box is.
I know, it's funny you say that because at Gen Con they had it on just like this little tiny round table, and I was like, my goodness, such a cool little game on such a little bitty table.
Yeah, because it's more vertical.
It's vertical, does not take up a whole lot of space. Those blocks, you do have to have some room for the blocks, your stash of blocks. So I will say that much. But yeah, you're right. Let's talk about your experience with playing this one. We've played it a few times now. We made sure after our first time of playing it at just a 2-player count that we really wanted to get a chance to play it at the higher player counts before we did a review on it. So talk to the people about what your experience was like playing this one.
I mean, I think the 2-player game was a little easy, or a little bit, not as challenging as a 4-person game was. But it's pretty easy to play and to understand what your goal is. It's because it's so visual. Like, you understand my goal is to stack my buildings higher than the ones in front of it. I think it just comes down to the strategy of picking out where you're going to go.
Yeah.
Because there's different end goals for each person.
Which definitely changes up the replayability with this game. And every game's going to be different because in the games we've played, there's been times when you really wanted to have the outer edges. And then there's been times where you needed to have the inner ones. And so it just, everything changes. And that's just 2 examples. There's lots of other ones out there. But yeah, you're right. And I think, like you were saying, with the changes in the player counts, the board does get smaller for smaller player count games, but I don't know that definitely makes it feel like it's not like competition.
Super easy, but it was definitely more competitive with 4 people.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. And so I do think the game shines better at 3 and 4 players than it does at 2 players. Now, I've played the solo mode, and I thought the solo mode was fine. I would prefer playing with other people because the solo mode on this one is not one where you are necessarily competing towards somebody else. I don't feel like, if I remember the solo mode correctly now that I'm talking about it. With the multiplayer mode, obviously you're competing for the most points, and that's just a more enjoyable gaming experience in my opinion, but that's just my personal preference. So I do agree with Sam. I think the 3 or 4 player counts is definitely where this game is at. Talk about the fun factor. Where would this game come in as a fun factor?
Building your buildings. I mean, it's very hands-on, so I think that adds a lot to it. And then, like I said, with the your goals are different. So just figuring out, am I wanting to be on the outside? Am I wanting to have this or that, this many bronze tops or silver tops and things like that? So there is, and that changes with each game. So.
The box says on the back of it that it has an abundance of interesting decisions. I agree with interesting. I don't know that I necessarily agree with the abundance, and I'll come back to that in the pros and cons. But for the interesting decisions, there definitely are interesting decisions, I felt like. Like you said, the rooftops.
Yeah.
Because, okay, I get this tile, that tells me where I can build. I get this tile, that tells me how many blocks I get. And this tile over here tells me that I've got to use a particular type of roof for this turn where I'm building. And so each one of those adds an extra layer of intrigue with the decision that I'm making for this round. I thought that was an enjoyable part with this game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get to pros and cons here for Positano. And so, Sam, what are the highlights for this game, the bullet points that are pros for you?
I mean, I think it's a very pretty game. I like that it's hands-on and very visual. I think that helps non-gamers kind of get more into it versus it being, flat board game.
Flat Euro with, beige colors and whatnot.
Yeah, I think this definitely is appealing.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. As we said at the top of the video, the table presence is stunning with this one. The bidding aspect is an interesting thing with this one that I think could be a pro or a con.
Yeah, we'll get the cons.
And so that's interesting that you're holding it for maybe the cons. I don't know that I would necessarily say that I think it's a pro. I think I might be more on the con side too, but I wanted to throw it out there that I think because it is such a novel, different type of way to do the bidding, that could be something that really intrigues people.
Yeah.
This idea that you have cards that have 3 numbers on it that correspond to the 3 different tiles, and each number is different, usually. And so you're doing like a 3-way bidding kind of thing each round, which I think that's pretty unique. Does it work for me? I don't know.
Yeah.
But some people out there might think, well, that's novel, and be intrigued by that. As I said earlier, with the whole bidding and what you're getting, there's a lot of intrigue with how the different tiles work together each round. And you got to figure out, okay, do I want lots of blocks, or do I want the card that lets me make sure to get the gold roof? Or do I want the one that's in the prime real estate, right in the best spot?
Yeah.
Having to kind of navigate that is a fun experience, I thought. I mean, do you think that's a pro?
Yeah, for sure.
It's only 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's a very quick, short game. And box says ages 13 and up. I don't know. I think this one could.
Yeah. I think it depends on the kid, but yeah, I think you could probably go lower.
I think so too. I was going to say maybe like even 8.
Maybe.
Ages 8 and up, maybe. But definitely a family game.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's get to cons. What are some things that maybe don't work so great for you?
I felt like the bidding was a little bit, it just felt, I couldn't get a grasp on it. I've played it 2 times and I never felt confident in what I was bidding that I was getting what I wanted, because I just have no concept of what everybody else is playing, which row I'm trying to go higher for or lower. I typically would start out with my lower cards so that I had my higher cards at the end when I had more at stake.
Mm-hmm.
But I just didn't feel like it really clicked for me.
I would agree with that too. After having played this several times now, I still feel like there is a part of me that's just like, am
I doing it right?
You're right. And I don't know that I'm playing optimal. And that's not necessarily because I feel like, because there are some games where it's challenging and you're wanting to really try to figure out that puzzle. And each time you play it, maybe you feel like you're figuring it out a little bit better. With this particular one, it's just like, there are times when I'm just like, well, there was no real way for me to be able to even get that.
Yeah.
And that's a little frustrating and even somewhat defeating a little bit. And what I mean by like, there's no real way for me to even get that. I can play my highest card on it. You can play your highest card, but because of those dots, like cards can be tied, or sometimes your highest card is just better than my highest card. And it just works out that there's no way for me to get that. So I get stuck with something that's not great. Or what's more likely to be the case is that you got the thing that I really needed, and that what I want out of that 3-way bidding aspect was something that just was mildly good for me. It was nowhere near as good as the thing I really needed.
Yeah.
So you got something that was really good. I get something that's just okay. And it doesn't slice out evenly, I don't feel like. So yeah, I think that could be part of the game that would be a con for me as well. Okay, let's get to final scores here for this one. So Sam, scale of 1 to 10. You want me to go first on this one?
I don't care. Okay,
I'll go first on this one. So scale of 1 to 10, love to hate. Where do I come in on Positano? I feel like the game has some good things that are really going for it. I love the way it looks. It's definitely intriguing and inviting. One other thing that I don't think I listed in the cons is that I think it has the potential for people to get frustrated that you build this big, beautiful building and then somebody builds right in front of you.
Yeah.
That's what this game is.
Yeah.
So if you don't like that, you're not going to like this game. If you're okay with that, then that's fine. But all that being said, I think there are some things about it that are going to leave some left to be desired, and maybe still feeling like, well, I don't know. So with that being said, I don't know. I'm going to give this one maybe a 6.8. I think is where I come in at on this one.
I liked it. I was going to give it a 7.0, so a little bit higher. But I mean, I thought it was enjoyable. I thought it was easy to play. When we played it with our friends, and they semi-enjoyed it, which is good for a first time playing with them.
And they are non-gamers.
Yes.
That definitely are like, I don't like that one a lot of times.
Yeah. So, and they, you know, and I've played it twice, which usually says something about how I feel about it as well. So.
Yeah. So 6.8, 7.0, we're kind of in the same ballpark with this one. It's an interesting little game, and it's beautiful out on the table. And I will also say that Slugfest did a fantastic job on the production of this game. So I think that's another pro too that we maybe forgot to mention. So Positano Slugfest Games. Leave us some comments down below. Let us know what you think about this game.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.